The punch that would end Frank Sinatra's reign as the king of Las Vegas exploded across his face at 2:47 a.m. on September 11, 1967. Carl Cohen, the mild-mannered casino executive who had tolerated Frank's drunken abuse for hours, finally snapped and delivered a right hook that sent America's most untouchable entertainer crashing to the floor of the Sands Casino in front of horrified witnesses. Dean Martin watched in stunned silence as his best friend lay bleeding on the casino floor, his caps knocked loose, and his legendary pride shattered more completely than his dental work. The Rat Pack leader, who had ruled Vegas like a personal kingdom for over a decade, had been reduced to a humiliated drunk, banned from his own stage by the very people who had once treated him like royalty. "You arrogant son of a bitch," Cohen snarled as Frank struggled to his feet, blood streaming from his mouth. "You think you can treat people like garbage because you're Frank Sinatra? Well, you just learned that everyone has limits, and you crossed mine. Get out of my casino and don't come back." Frank's empire of influence, built on charm and intimidation in equal measure, crumbled in that single moment of violence. The man who had partied with presidents and commanded respect from mobsters had been publicly humiliated by a casino bookkeeper, proving that even the most powerful entertainers could fall when alcohol, ego, and arrogance finally collided with someone who refused to be bullied. The brawl that destroyed Frank's Vegas kingdom would mark the end of the Rat Pack era and begin his transformation from untouchable icon to cautionary tale about the price of unchecked celebrity arrogance. If you're fascinated by the moment when unlimited power meets unstoppable consequences, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This is the story of how Frank Sinatra lost his Vegas throne with a single punch that changed entertainment history forever. The King of Las Vegas, 1955 to 1965. Frank Sinatra's relationship with Las Vegas began as a mutually beneficial arrangement that transformed both the entertainer and the city. When Frank first performed at the Sands Casino in 1955, he brought Hollywood glamour and East Coast sophistication to what was still a desert gambling town trying to establish legitimate entertainment credentials. The Sands became Frank's unofficial headquarters, where he lived, performed, and held court with the Rat Pack in a suite that functioned as the unofficial social center of Las Vegas entertainment. Frank's presence attracted other major entertainers, high-rolling gamblers, and celebrity tourists who turned the Sands into the most prestigious venue in Vegas. Frank treated the Sands like his personal club, recalled casino dealer Jimmy Grippo. He could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and nobody questioned him. The casino made so much money from Frank's presence that management gave him unlimited credit and complete freedom to behave however he chose. Frank's Vegas lifestyle was legendary for its excess and exclusivity. He would arrive with entourages of friends, celebrities, and hangers-on who expected to be treated as Frank's guests, while running up enormous bills that the casino absorbed as the cost of keeping Frank happy and performing. The Rat Pack performances at the Sands became cultural phenomena that defined Las Vegas entertainment. Frank, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop would perform together while maintaining an atmosphere of spontaneous fun that made audiences feel like they were witnessing exclusive private parties rather than scripted shows. Frank's influence extended far beyond entertainment into Vegas business and politics. Casino executives consulted Frank on major decisions, while politicians sought his endorsement and support. Frank's approval could make careers in Las Vegas, while his disapproval could destroy them. However, Frank's power came with a price that became increasingly apparent as the years passed. His demands became more extravagant, his behavior more erratic, and his treatment of casino staff more abusive as he grew accustomed to unlimited privilege without accountability. By 1965, Frank's relationship with the Sands was showing strain, as new management began questioning whether Frank's behavior problems outweighed his box office value. The casino was evolving from a small operation that depended on individual stars to a larger corporation that needed predictable, manageable entertainment policies. The warning signs, 1966, early 1967. Frank's behavior at the Sands became increasingly problematic throughout 1966 as his drinking increased and his patience with normal business procedures evaporated. Casino executives began documenting incidents of verbal abuse, unreasonable demands, and disruptive behavior that created problems for other guests and employees. The gambling credit disputes that would eventually trigger the September 1967 confrontation began months earlier when Frank's losses exceeded his normal limits while his payments became irregular and contentious. Frank expected unlimited credit based on his celebrity status, while new casino management demanded more conventional financial accountability. Frank was living in the past when the Sands was a small operation that could afford to indulge his every whim, observed casino executive Al Sachs. But the casino business was changing, and Frank couldn't accept that he needed to follow the same rules as everyone else, regardless of his entertainment value. Dean Martin and other Rat Pack members began expressing private concerns about Frank's drinking and increasingly erratic behavior. Friends noticed that Frank's legendary charm was disappearing, replaced by bitter cynicism and explosive anger that made social situations tense and unpredictable. Frank's personal relationships were deteriorating simultaneously with his professional problems. His marriage to Mia Farrow was failing due to his controlling behavior and unrealistic expectations, while his friendships were strained by his growing paranoia and resentment toward anyone who questioned his decisions. The entertainment industry was also changing in ways that threatened Frank's dominance. Younger performers were attracting audiences that Frank struggled to reach, while the cultural revolution of the 1960s made the Rat Pack seem outdated and irrelevant to many potential fans. Carl Cohen, the Sands Casino credit manager, became the focal point for Frank's frustrations with the changing business environment. Cohen represented the corporate bureaucracy that Frank despised, while Frank represented the prima donna entertainers that Cohen found increasingly difficult to manage professionally. The tension between Frank and Cohen escalated throughout early 1967 as Frank's credit disputes became more frequent and more heated. Both men understood that their conflict represented broader changes in Las Vegas entertainment that threatened Frank's traditional privileges and power. The fatal night, September 11th, 1967. Frank arrived at the Sands on September 11th, 1967, already drunk and angry about casino credit policies that he viewed as personal insults to his status and loyalty. He had been drinking heavily for hours and was in the volatile mood that casino staff had learned to fear and avoid when possible. The evening began badly when Frank discovered that his usual high-limit gambling credit had been reduced due to outstanding debts and irregular payment history. Frank interpreted the credit reduction as a deliberate humiliation designed to embarrass him in front of his friends and gambling associates. Frank went ballistic when he found out about the credit limit, recalled casino host Jilly Rizzo. He took it as a personal attack on his reputation and his relationship with the Sands. Frank believed that his entertainment value earned him unlimited privileges, and any restrictions were unacceptable insults to his contributions to the casino's success. Frank's confrontation with Carl Cohen began in the casino credit office around midnight, when Frank demanded immediate restoration of his unlimited gambling privileges. Cohen explained the business reasons for the credit policies, while refusing to make exceptions based on Frank's celebrity status. The argument escalated as Frank's intoxication and anger fed off each other, leading to increasingly personal attacks on Cohen's competence, integrity, and authority. Frank used the kind of abusive language that had intimidated casino employees for years, expecting Cohen to capitulate to avoid further confrontation. However, Cohen was different from the employees who had previously tolerated Frank's abuse. As casino credit manager, Cohen had dealt with difficult gamblers throughout his career and had learned not to be intimidated by threats or personal attacks, regardless of their source. The confrontation moved from the credit office to the casino floor around 2:30 a.m., when Frank began shouting at Cohen in front of other guests and employees. Frank's public denunciation of Cohen was designed to humiliate the casino executive, while demonstrating Frank's power to everyone present. Dean Martin and other friends tried to calm Frank and convince him to end the confrontation before it escalated further, but Frank was too drunk and angry to listen to reason or recognize the dangerous situation he was creating for himself. The punch that changed everything. 2:47 a.m. Carl Cohen's patience finally ended when Frank called him a fucking kike and threatened to have him fired and blacklisted from Las Vegas casinos. The racial slur and professional threat crossed lines that Cohen would not tolerate, regardless of Frank's celebrity status or entertainment value to the Sands. "That's when I hit him," Cohen recalled years later. "I don't care if he was Frank Sinatra or the Pope. Nobody talks to me that way, and nobody threatens my livelihood with racial slurs." Frank thought his fame made him untouchable, but he was wrong. The punch was swift and devastating. Cohen's right cross caught Frank flush on the jaw, sending him crashing backwards into a blackjack table before he hit the casino floor hard enough to knock out several dental caps and leave him bleeding and disoriented. The casino floor fell silent as witnesses processed what they had just seen. Frank Sinatra, the most powerful entertainer in Las Vegas, lying on the ground after being knocked down by a casino employee. The moment shattered every assumption about Frank's invincibility and untouchable status. Dean Martin rushed to help Frank to his feet, but the damage was done. Frank's humiliation was complete and public, witnessed by casino employees, other entertainers, and gambling guests who would spread the story throughout Las Vegas and beyond within hours. "I couldn't believe what I was seeing," recalled casino dealer Maria Santos. "Frank Sinatra was on the ground, bleeding, with his teeth knocked out, looking like any other drunk who had caused trouble in a casino. In that moment, he wasn't a superstar. He was just a pathetic old man who had pushed too far." Frank struggled to his feet, dazed and humiliated, while Cohen stood over him with the calm authority of someone who had finally settled a long-standing problem. The casino executive felt no remorse for defending himself against Frank's abuse and threats. Security guards helped Frank to the casino medical facility to assess his injuries, but the real damage was to his pride and reputation rather than his physical condition. Frank understood immediately that his Vegas kingdom had ended with Cohen's punch. The Aftermath and Exile, September 1967. Frank's immediate reaction to the humiliation was a mixture of shock, rage, and disbelief that someone had actually dared to hit him and get away with it. His first instinct was revenge, but he quickly realized that his position was weaker than he had ever imagined. The Sands management supported Cohen's actions and made it clear that Frank was no longer welcome at the casino where he had reigned for over a decade. Frank's contract was terminated, his credit revoked, and his suite privileges ended immediately and permanently. Frank kept threatening to sue the casino and have Cohen arrested, recalled casino attorney Oscar Goodman. But Frank had no legal standing. Cohen had acted in self-defense against Frank's physical threats and racial slurs. Frank was the aggressor, and everyone knew it. The Las Vegas entertainment community's reaction was mixed, but telling. While some performers expressed sympathy for Frank's humiliation, many others privately admitted that they felt Frank had finally received the comeuppance that his arrogant behavior had been inviting for years. Dean Martin was devastated by the incident and its implications for the Rat Pack's future. The Brawl represented everything Dean had tried to avoid about Frank's increasingly self-destructive behavior, and it marked the beginning of the end of their legendary friendship. Dean never looked at Frank the same way after the Cohen punch, observed Peter Lawford. Dean realized that Frank's behavior was becoming dangerous and unpredictable, and he didn't want to be associated with that kind of drama and embarrassment. Frank's attempts to continue performing in Las Vegas were unsuccessful, as other major casinos were reluctant to book an entertainer who had proven capable of creating expensive and embarrassing incidents. Frank's reputation for unprofessional behavior had finally outweighed his box office value. The national media coverage of Frank's humiliation was extensive and largely unsympathetic. Entertainment journalists portrayed the incident as evidence that Frank's ego and behavior had finally caught up with him, while some columnists suggested that the punch was long overdue. Frank's response to the coverage was bitter and defensive, blaming the media for sensationalizing the incident while refusing to acknowledge his own responsibility for creating the confrontation that led to his public humiliation. The end of an era, 1968 to 1970. The Sands Casino Brawl marked the end of Frank Sinatra's dominance in Las Vegas and the beginning of his gradual withdrawal from the entertainment capital that had defined his later career. The incident proved that Frank's power had limits and that his behavior could have serious professional consequences. Frank's relationship with Dean Martin never fully recovered from the September 1967 incident. While they continued to perform together occasionally, the easy friendship and mutual respect that had defined the Rat Pack era was permanently damaged by Frank's self-destructive behavior. "The punch changed everything between Frank and Dean," observed Sammy Davis Jr. Dean was embarrassed by Frank's behavior and didn't want to be associated with that kind of drama. The Rat Pack magic was gone because the trust and respect were gone. Frank eventually found other venues in Las Vegas, but never again with the unlimited privileges and unchallenged authority he had enjoyed at the Sands. His subsequent casino relationships were more conventional business arrangements rather than the personal kingdoms he had previously demanded. The entertainment industry learned important lessons from Frank's fall that influenced how casinos and other venues managed celebrity entertainers. The incident demonstrated that even the biggest stars needed to follow basic behavioral standards, and that unlimited indulgence could create expensive problems. Frank's personal reflection on the Sands incident was complex and evolved over time. Initially bitter and resentful, he gradually came to understand that his behavior had been inexcusable and that Cohen had been justified in defending himself against Frank's abuse and threats. However, the damage to Frank's reputation and relationships was permanent. The man who had once ruled Las Vegas like a personal kingdom was reduced to being just another performer who needed to follow rules and respect limits like everyone else. The psychological impact of the public humiliation affected Frank for the rest of his career. He became more cautious and less spontaneous, understanding that his behavior was being watched and judged by people who were no longer intimidated by his fame and power. Modern impact and recognition. Frank Sinatra's Las Vegas casino brawl represents one of entertainment history's most dramatic examples of celebrity downfall through arrogance and self-destructive behavior. The incident demonstrated that even the most powerful entertainers could face consequences for treating others badly. From a business perspective, the Sands incident established important precedents for celebrity management and accountability. Casinos and other entertainment venues learned that unlimited indulgence of celebrity behavior could create expensive problems that outweighed box office benefits. The cultural significance of Frank's humiliation extended beyond entertainment to influence broader discussions about celebrity privilege, accountability, and the limits of fame-based power. The incident showed that respect needed to be earned through behavior rather than demanded through status. Cohen became an unlikely hero to service industry workers who had experienced similar abuse from powerful customers. His willingness to defend himself against Frank's threats and slurs inspired others to stand up against celebrity bullying and entitled behavior. The incident influenced Las Vegas entertainment culture permanently, establishing behavioral standards and accountability measures that continue to govern celebrity-performer relationships with casinos and other venues throughout the entertainment industry. From a personal development perspective, Frank's experience demonstrated the importance of treating others with respect, regardless of one's power or status. The punch he received was a direct consequence of his abusive behavior toward someone who refused to be bullied. Contemporary celebrity culture still references the Sands incident as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ego and the importance of maintaining humility and respect for others, regardless of one's fame or success. The story reminds us that respect and dignity are earned through behavior rather than granted through fame, and that everyone, regardless of status, must accept accountability for their actions and treatment of others. If this story moved you, subscribe to the Sinatra Lost Vault and hit that notification bell. We're revealing the hidden consequences of celebrity arrogance that show how even the most powerful entertainers can fall when they forget basic human decency and respect for others. What other celebrity downfall stories do you want us to investigate? Let us know in the comments below.